Hello, and welcome to BIA's Leading Local Insights podcast, your go-to spot for staying ahead in the dynamic local advertising marketplace. You'll hear BIA's top experts and their distinguished guests break down the trends, technologies, and innovations reshaping local media. Plus, you'll frequently get highlights from BIA's U.S. local advertising forecast. Thanks for tuning in. Let's dive in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to BIA's Leading Local podcast. I'm your host, Mike Boland, and our guest today is Josh Good, who's Manager of Marketing and Revenue Enablement for Megaphone TV. So, Josh, welcome to the program.
Hey, Mike, thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually have a lot to get into. Megaphone TV, for those unfamiliar, is pioneering some interactive ad formats that we'll be getting into. And particularly, we're zeroing in today on some of the growing applicability of interactive advertising and Megaphone TV sort of particular flavor of an innovation with some leading local home services categories, some big spenders in local advertising, specifically HVAC. So the goal today really is to accept the challenge of making a discussion about heating and air conditioning fun and engaging. Right, Josh?
That's right. That's what we're going to do.
Yep. Okay, so Josh, lot to get into. But before we do that, let's sort of set the stage here with some more context. So tell us more about yourself, your role at Megaphone, and your sort of origin story with the business.
Yeah, so I've been in broadcasting for 20-something years, came up on the news and content side of it, and kind of rose from there, reporter, anchor, news director, and then made that pivot over to the sales side of things with a general manager role in radio, and ended up here at Megaphone. And how that kind of happened is I had worked with Megaphone. They were a vendor of mine when I was news director in Roanoke, Virginia, and kind of came full circle. Came to Megaphone and now helping local salespeople generate more revenue using interactive advertising.
Nice. And the one thing that sticks out there to me is that we're both recovering journalists. Me in print, you with broadcast. But
yes,
yeah. So same thing. Stage setting, context. Tell us a little bit more about Megaphone. I mentioned briefly interactive ads. What are the things you're doing there? What is it? Who is it for? What's sort of the pitch there?
Yeah, so Megaphone TV, we are on a mission to help local broadcasters grow revenue, increase rates, and keep those advertisers around for a long time. We want by the end of the campaign for you to be set up perfectly to have that conversation with the advertiser and start talking about renewals. And how we do that is it can be in content time, it can be in commercial time, it could be digital only, but that's through things like question of the day, user-generated content sponsorships, polls, trivia, all of that kind of bundled up. And then we take that and help you sell it. We're with you from the beginning until the reports at the very end. So again, we know that TV stations and broadcasters as a whole are doing so much more with so much less these days. And that's where Megaphone and specifically our ad growth services team, that's where they come into play.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So like backing up a bit, you go to market through your channel partners, who, as you mentioned, are sort of media companies. So they help you sort of scale and sell into the fragmented local market. But more importantly, I like the way you framed it in that you're really sort of helping them enhance and entice their bundles, right? And that's always sort of the common value exchange and value proposition for, sort of ad tech players and media resellers. But I think it's interesting. You do a lot more for your channel, such as educate them on selling into key verticals and how to best use your interactive formats as like icing on the cake of their sort of sales bundle. So tell us more about that relationship in terms of you're empowering them more to sort of increase their close rates and just other things that they're going for.
Yeah, we work with local broadcasters all around the globe. And what we do is we help them formulate from the pitch to execution. So we'll meet one on one with whether it be a sales team, a sales manager, or an individual AE. We will start there talking about the client, their goals, and what this campaign really needs to look like. From there, our ad growth team will put together a fully custom pitch deck for the station to then take to their client and pitch this interactive advertising element. Like I said, whether it's question of the day or a user generated content campaign or an interactive commercial. And we are able to help them bundle and find what is going to work best. It could have a contest or a sweepstakes included. It doesn't have to. We handle all of that on the back end. So once the AE or the sales manager reaches back out and says, hey, this deal has closed, now we go into setting it up and we take care of all of the back end for the stations as well. So we're helping them formulate the pitch and also helping create it and sending the station the embed code that goes on their website.
Yeah, so that's a question too. So thank you for clarifying that. Like the fulfillment, you're doing a lot of the fulfillment. So that's absolutely an attractive proposition for a lot of those media partners. So let's talk about sort of how it looks. What does the experience look like from the perspective of like the business? I mean, is there a range of options if they want to have some control? Like you're doing a lot of the fulfillment, but what are they seeing on their end in terms of their, analytics, return on ad spend or creative or any of that type of stuff?
Yeah. So what we do is we work really closely with the TV stations. They're fully in control of pricing that. There is no rev share, anything like that. We are a subscription service. So we are here for you to come and use as a resource as the broadcaster.
Huh.
And yeah, Megaphone is intended for us to be a bundle within what you're already doing to enhance it and now charge a premium because
Yeah.
you're getting people in, let's say, an interactive commercial, right? So you've taken a normal 30-second spot and you've now made it an interactive commercial where you've got a QR code on the screen and it can be asking any sort of question or poll or trivia, and scan the QR code where the user then goes and engages and they see the client's inline offer, a pop-up offer after they vote, and then a click through to the client's website. If it's user generated content or if it is a contest or sweepstakes, that's where the true value is. Because what our clients want these days, as you're talking to business owners, is they want that data. They want names,
Yeah.
email, phone numbers, things like that. And so through having users upload pictures, videos, or enter into a contest or sweepstakes, we always include an opt-in for more information from the client. So we're able to provide at the end of the campaign, not just the normal reporting that you would see, but also that PII that is very important and very valuable to these businesses.
Yeah, and getting that information, the PIA data, the valuable inputs for one's CRM system is always very difficult to do. And it seems like you've sort of created this vessel that is fun, it's interactive, and people feel sort of incentivized to share that information because it's an interactive, like you said, it's a poll, it's a sweepstakes, it's a clear value exchange for the user. It's not just some sort of like blind give me your data, which always seems to be the case. So like it's great. I mean, it's a very clever way to get that high value data for the business. And it's no surprise that your media company partners, the broadcasters, love you because they are indeed enticing that bundle, because their customer, the businesses that are buying these bundles, love the fact that they're getting that data. They're not just getting awareness, they're not just getting analytics, but they're also getting data for their CRM systems that then helps them target better in their sort of subsequent campaigns. Is that a fair way to look at it? It seems like it's a sort of sequence of value.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a really fair way to put it. And it can be, it doesn't have to be we're giving away a free car, right? Like
Yeah.
people will scan the QR code and give you their data for $100 Visa gift card. Like that is where you can start at. So it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
a really high ticket item for people to scan and engage and have fun with it, especially if the questions that you're asking are engaging, and it's going to generate that kind of the brand awareness. It kind of bundles it all together. And
Yeah.
we've talked a lot about in commercial time sponsorships, but there's also in show sponsorships for newscasts, lifestyle
Hmm.
shows, things like that. From Pet of the Day, what popular campaign we're working with a lot of stations on right now is back to school photos. People want to show off
Yeah.
pictures of their kids. And as the former newsie in me, I like to say that people want to see pictures of their kids on TV when they've not committed a
Yeah.
crime. So it's a great way for people to do that. And they're going to go back day after day and upload pictures, and then they're going to watch your show. So it's also helping with that. We've seen many partners that will park contests at the bottom of the hour so that they're getting you to stick around. Hey, coming up at the bottom of the hour, we have a chance for you to win a trip or a gift card or whatever. And you've got that advertiser locked in there as well. So that's certainly stuff that we can do in content time. And all of these widgets live as an embed code. It's embedded on the station's website. So
Yeah.
it's really user friendly. We are completely a white label company. So you're able to kind of own the whole process. And going back to our pitch decks, we will create a custom pitch deck for the AEs to take to their clients. And in that, you have a fully working demo with a working QR code in the client's branding. So your client
Hmm.
doesn't have to imagine what this is going to
Yeah.
look like. You walk
Show
in with a
rather than
fully
tell.
formed campaign. Yeah. And I really love it when we have AEs that are pitching these campaigns, and the clients start saying, well, could we move this here, and could we do this and that? Absolutely we can, and congratulations on the sale, because if we've got a client who is asking about the creative direction for graphics and stuff, you've already closed the deal, so congratulations.
Yeah, that's a good sign. Right. So let's talk about the sort of the KPIs and the advantages of these sort of interactive formats. So there's clearly a lot of advantages for like the sales teams, as we just went over, right? Your partners, your broadcast partners in selling it. It's really serving them, their clients, the advertisers, and the selling points. We just talked about one, in that they're getting lots of great data. But what about the sort of the sheer performance of this format? We're going to get into some examples again in some home services and just some sort of campaign sort of metrics and things like that. But at a higher level, do you have any sort of metrics to point to for the format as a whole, in terms of like, outperforming traditional benchmarks in sort of display advertising or anything like that? Like, what are we talking about here in terms of the engagement of what you're doing?
Yeah, we see higher than, I would say, the industry average for a click
Mhm.
through to the client's website. But there are so many variables that go into that. What are the station's ratings? What does that look like? There's so many
Sure.
variables of how many eyeballs are on the commercial. That's information that I typically don't know, but I can tell you that of the people that end up on the landing page, we are above the industry average of click throughs to the client's website, which is the goal, right? We want people engaging with the content, clicking through to the client's website, and trying to kind of cheat code that 7 touch points that somebody needs before they make a purchase.
Yeah. And it's probably already clear from our discussion so far, but let's take a step back and sort of visualize this for our audience. The types of places they may see these ads, like this could be sort of CTV spots where it's QR code calls to action. It could be online interactive where you're sort of clicking on an online poll. What are some of the ways that where are they going to see these, I guess, is the question.
You can put it anywhere and everywhere. At the end of
Sure.
the day, you have a URL that has some sort of engagement or just a scan to enter for a contest or sweepstakes. So you just have a URL. So you can put that anywhere. You can put the piece of video anywhere you have video. You could put a banner ad and it clicks through to this interactive experience. So there's a lot of flexibility with it. And something I like to remind people of is don't think of Megaphone as something else to sell. Megaphone folds in perfectly with what you're already doing. It enhances it, and it generates more revenue, and you can increase rates that way.
Yeah, it does seem highly adaptable to just a media bundle, a media mix. No matter what you're doing, it seems like this sort of just like drives either other pieces of that media mix or sits alongside them in terms of just an overall overall higher engagement. So that makes a lot of sense. Now, speaking of versatility and applicability, let's go into some of the parts I keep teasing, which is that like there are certain sort of vertical domain expertise you've developed in a lot of these high value sort of local business verticals. And one we're going to focus on today, as I mentioned, is HVAC. But before going there, tell us about how you sort of divide up the world in terms of verticals, because it's highly applicable. I mean, we're talking about HVAC today, but you're just to be clear for our audience, you guys can do everything from restaurants to roofers. Some of these ad units may be more applicable to certain types of businesses than others, but tell us about how you sort of look at the addressable market.
Yeah, and it's everybody that AEs in broadcast facilities across the country are already pitching to. Some of the most, I would say, really high on the list of being good fits for interactive sponsorships and advertising are going to be live events and venues. We see a lot of that in interactive commercials, giving away a pair of concert tickets. Well, if you have this favorite artist and you have a favorite song, you're a pretty good fit to click through and buy tickets. So it's a really good way to engage people. You've got an artist coming into town, scan the QR code, tell us what song is your favorite from this artist out of these four. And if you have scanned the QR code and voted, you're a really good contender to go to the concert. So then you're delivered that pop-up ad to click through and purchase tickets all right there. So that's one area of that we see a lot of success. Another one is through personal injury attorneys. That's another category that we do really well with. And I know I've mentioned click through to the client's website. It doesn't always need to be or have to be a click through to the client's website. It can be download their app. If that's something that the business is really pushing. So those are all things that kind of come out in our consultation calls with these AEs and sales managers of what is the goal of the client. Okay, if it's to get a download of an app, well, okay, how are we going to incentivize the viewer and get them engaged? Is it a fun question? Is it a giveaway of some sort? Download the app and get a free coffee? Or is it both? And those are things that we'll talk about on a case-by-case basis with the AEs and the sales leaders.
Yeah, and you mentioned personal injury law. I think the first like 6 or 7 words of every single personal injury law video ad spot I've ever seen is, have you been injured in a, That seems like it's conducive to a survey.
It sure is. It sure is. And we can also share for anybody that opted in to learn more information from the client, we could share with the client how people answered those questions. So if you're asking a question like that, or another kind of question in the HVAC realm that we'll talk about here in a little bit, you're getting that data of how they answered and their name, email, phone number, and whatever data it is we're asking for, as long as they opt in for more information from the client.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. So yeah, let's do what we keep teasing, which is jump into HVAC. And for the full context of our audience, the reason we sort of chose this topic is it's sort of like almost underrated, not talked about much, how high value it is. And it's particularly conducive to all of the things that Josh is talking about. So we thought to stay focused, let's pick a vertical and drill down, show rather than tell, in terms of what Megaphone TV is doing. And before we do that, Josh, I'll sort of set the stage here with some BIA sort of forecasting and market sizing data that sort of least quantifies the value of what we're about to talk about. So HVAC in total, local HVAC advertisers in the aggregate will spend about 2.4 billion this year, and that's up about 23 million year over year. And it continues to be a vertical that's sort of hungry for customer acquisition, and that's, I think, what makes it pretty opportune for what you're doing. And then, just some more context there within that ad spend, that 2.4 billion, the channel breakdown is mobile is in the lead, unsurprisingly, but TV is actually up there. HVAC advertisers actually spend more on television than any other home services subvertical except for home centers, so retail home centers. So it's up there in terms of TV spend. And then the last thing I'll say there is there's a lot of evidence that HVAC, like many other categories, has rising standards around really seeing their return on ad spend. They still value reach and brand awareness, but they're increasingly asking more about attribution and engagement and a lot of that sort of lower funnel measurable outcomes. So with that sort of backdrop on the category, I guess what I'll ask you first, Josh, is does that align with your experience in dealing directly with HVAC? What are the questions they're asking, right? Like, what are their hopes and dreams and pain points, and how is Megaphone TV and all the things we just talked about, like, sort of meeting that moment?
Well, first, let me just talk a little bit about the HVAC category.
Sure.
And with that, I think it's a great way for us to talk about Megaphone as a whole, because it works really well no matter the market size, and HVAC is a perfect example of that. It doesn't matter if you're in a really small market and you don't have a lot of resources, or if you're in a really large market and you have a ton of resources. That doesn't matter because it works in every market, no matter of market size. And with that, I will say, yeah, we see stations having great success in pitching HVAC customers because they are hungry. They are advertising everywhere. And now you're showing that ROI. I can show you how many people scanned the QR code, entered this contest to win a free tune-up or a $100 Visa gift card or whatever it may end up being, but I can show you those numbers. One of my favorite interactive commercials that we've had a partner do is they were asking in that commercial, how old is your HVAC unit? And then gave 3 or 4 different options for people to choose from. So at the end of this campaign, the client was receiving this opt-in list with names, email, phone numbers, plus how old the person's HVAC system is. So they have this full picture to add into their CRM and be able to really go to town, really drill down and know exactly in the cycle where this person's at and what they need to be pitching them. Is it an annual tune-up, or are we pitching them that we need to come in and take a look and replace their unit? So those are some of the really great ways that I have seen HVAC perform. On the flip side, it doesn't have to be so one-to-one to the advertiser. And that's something that we're constantly talking with our partners about, of don't be so narrowly focused that it needs to be how old is your HVAC system, right? Like this can be brand awareness. We had a partner do Dog Days of Summer last summer, sponsored by an HVAC company. And they were just showing dog photos bumping to commercial breaks. And it had the HVAC company's logo on screen in graphics that, by the way, that we create and we send to the stations. So that is one element of it. Plus, once you go to upload your picture and scan that QR code, you're delivered more ads and then a click through to the client's website. So there are several different elements to a campaign like that. But again, we want to make sure that we are setting our partners up for success in no matter the category, but specifically in HVAC, because we know how big those budgets are each and every year. So we want our partners to be able to go in, get more of that share, and really walk away with a win.
Yeah, and that really speaks to what you were talking about earlier. I mean, it's not just awareness, it's not just customer acquisition, but it's the acquisition of that customer data. And as you noted, they can use that to their advantage in targeting sales practices. Or one other thing that comes to mind for me is in your email marketing, you can sort of segment your lists and have, targeted campaigns towards people that are coming up for their 5-year tune-up or whatever the case may be. I mean, that's gold.
Yeah, it is. And that's what the advertisers want these days. They want something that's trackable. They want something that is they can implement easily and quickly and reach out to these people. They don't want to wait 6 months to start reaching out to a list. They want to start reaching out this month. So that's kind of where Megaphone comes in to be able to help the stations make this happen easily. We take care of the heavy lifting on the back end. The station takes all the credit, and we help them when it comes renewal time. We want stations selling dozens of these campaigns each and every month and each and every year, and we are here to help them facilitate that and work with them on achieving their goals.
Yeah. Now, in terms of like best practices, what are the other types of content or vessels, interactive units that perform particularly well, like in this vertical and in HVAC settings? You talked about the pole. That seems like a great one. Are there others that you've noticed that perform pretty well?
Yeah, and again, it comes back to what is the client's goals. So we would tackle this on an individual basis, depending on what the client was trying to achieve. But yeah, we have I'd say dozens of different combinations that we can do, if not more, and really be able to customize it per client. You could have every commercial break in a single stop set be an interactive commercial, and none of them would look alike, other than the fact that they all maybe have a QR code on them. So there is a lot of flexibility. There's a lot of different products that we have. We like to focus on campaigns and what those campaigns can look like. So yeah, from polling and trivia to user generated content to word scramble to the list goes on. But that's what we're here for. And that's what our ad growth team does, is working with the stations on an individual basis to make sure that we are hitting the mark for them and for their client.
Yeah. So HVAC also is one of those verticals, sort of like retail, that can benefit from seasonality in terms of really organic excuses, for lack of a better term, to be reaching out to people. So what have you done there in terms of like, winter's coming up, your sort of winterization maintenance of your heating system, or flip side on the summer. It seems like there's a lot of opportunity there for seasonality. What have you done there?
Yeah, we have seen a lot of partners sell 52-week campaigns, right? And it's not going to be the same campaign all year long. We can change it on whatever frequency the client would like. And we take care of that on the back end. So all your team has to do is tell us, hey, it's going to be a user-generated content campaign for the 4th of July. And then we're going to pivot to back to school. And then we're going to do pet photos for the rest of the year. So there's a lot of different options and flexibility that it has. So you can get a 52-week commitment from a client, but each and every month it can be a different interactive element, and keeps it fresh, keeps it engaging, and you can really start to see who is loyal to that brand by those opt-ins. How many times have you had this person opt in? Maybe it's multiple times on multiple different campaigns throughout the year.
Mm-hmm. So are there any sort of specifics in the HVAC vertical in terms of the KPIs that your partner, the broadcasters, are looking at in terms of retention, in terms of sales rates within their regions? Like what does success look like for the broadcasters in these scenarios?
Yeah, the success I would define as multiple sold campaigns per station from different advertisers, but I think from a station level, that paired with renewals. If the renewals are rolling in, that is showing that the proof is in the pudding and it is working. And when we have partners all across the country, that's the method, right? We wrap up one campaign, we pitch them on the next one, and we just kind of keep this thing rolling. So that is our goal as well, to make sure that it is performing well and make sure that we're working closely with our partners to keep an eye on it and keep the focus on the renewal, right? Because that is the most important thing. The next most important thing is the renewal.
Yeah. And, as you noted earlier, it's not just this in a vacuum, but the presence of Megaphone TV's innovation within a bundle. You may, get the entire bundle is renewed because of that presence. So the stakes are much higher than them just liking, the sort of the interaction, the customer interaction, the data, all the stuff we're talking about. The stakes are higher because it can sort of elevate the whole bundle in terms of those KPIs like renewals, right?
Yeah, and you're taking a normal 30-second commercial, and now you've added a premium element on it. So you're charging the client more for a 30-second spot because you've taken a normal 30 and turned it into an interactive 30. And the same thing with in-show sponsorships. And that's something that we're talking to a lot of stations about right now with political coming up with the midterms this year. We've got, the real likelihood that your commercials are going to get bumped. So the HVAC company is in jeopardy, and your relationship could be in jeopardy as well. Because if you have to bump a lot of their commercials, they're going to be pretty unhappy with you. Trust me. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. So on the flip side of that, if we can help stations get their really big clients into an in-show sponsorship, whether that's dog walking forecast in weather, where we're accepting user-generated content and showing off people's pet pictures. If that's where for a quarter of the year you put that budget, that's a good idea, so that we can make sure that we are salvaging those relationships and keeping that inventory safe if it's going to go inside of content time.
Yeah, I mean, that goes back to the adaptability theme you talked about earlier, but here it's on a different level. It's adaptable in that it sort of transcends the fact that you can only put it within like a typical spot. You just mentioned a bunch of other places where it can live.
Yeah. And it is adaptable. Being from the news side, I know the separation of church and state. So we have partners who are very careful on what we put in show, understandably. So we're here to help them with what they want where they want the focus to be. If that's in show sponsorships, great. If that's in commercial time, great. If it's both, fantastic. Let's do it.
Yeah. Absolutely. So we're sort of winding down on time here, but I want to sort of end on a sort of actionable note, which is that, the BIA audience are a lot of the folks that you work with, a lot of the folks we're talking about in the broadcast world. If any of them are out there thinking, this sounds cool, like, how can I get this? Like, how do you usually sort of like, what's step one with sort of new folks that you work with?
Yeah, absolutely. Just reach out to us. You can find us at megaphonetv.com. You can book a demo through our website. And something I don't think that I have mentioned is the interactive pitch decks that we do are closing globally at a 46% rate. That's not us selling broadcasters. That is broadcasters going in with the pitch deck, and almost half of the time they're walking out with the sale. So keep that in mind as well. But you can absolutely reach out to us, megaphonetv.com. You can book a demo there. We'll walk through it. And also, we are offering right now a 2-month free trial for anybody that wants to sign up. No commitment after that. So you're more than welcome to try Megaphone, see what it's all about, see what we do, and see how we're going to help change your revenue for your station.
Yeah. Well, that's a good place to end it. And that's all the time we have. So I want to thank you, Josh, for joining us today.
Mike, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, this was fun. And thanks everyone for listening. This has been BIA's leading local podcast. I'm Mike Boland. Please like and subscribe, and we will catch you on the next one.
Thanks for tuning in to the BIA Leading Local Insights podcast. Stay a part of our community by subscribing so you never miss an episode. And we want to hear from you. What topics do you want us to dive into next? Email your ideas to podcast@bia.com.